Thanks for staying with us. Eskom has set out plans to buy 1,000 megawatts in private supply, and the first contract expected to be signed this week. Now, this comes at the back of the deepening energy crisis, which saw President Cyril Ramaphosa cut his international trip short. Now, Eskom has been struggling to supply power constantly to South Africans, even after President Cyril Ramaphosa announced plans to resolve the energy crisis. It seems things aren't going as planned. Let's now speak to Ruse Moleshe, who's the infrastructure finance specialist. Ruse, thank you so much for your time. There are just so many plans, talk of plans to do this and that, yet we're seeing very little implementation. Do you get a sense that those who are supposed to be making these decisions are waiting for us to have a complete blackout before we actually see like really urgent action?
Good afternoon, Bonke. Good afternoon to the viewers as well. I think that we maybe should have factored in that there are timelines in terms of time lags to the implementation of some of the plans that were mentioned. For instance, the issue of the maintenance within Eskom and getting in original equipment manufacturers to assist would be a procurement process, and the procurement process will take a little bit of time to be implementable, and as well as the actual maintenance itself also takes a bit of time to be implemented. But I hear the frustration and I understand.
And in the absence then of, the actual maintenance being done and the right equipment coming on board timeously, because I'm sure, as Eskom even admits, that they are asking people for a little bit too much when they continue to ask for patience from South Africans. In the absence of what needs to be done, particularly on the issue of maintenance, what is the interim solution that could be put in place for us not to find ourselves in this position?
The interim solution that Eskom is proposing, which is, I will be honest, not adequate, because 1,000 megawatts, when you have unplanned outages of about 15,000 megawatts, will go a long way in terms of allowing them to have the emergency power coming in, but it will not be the solution. So the solution that they are proposing is to procure short-term from small-scale generators, as well as emergency IPP generators, as well as some regional power projects. They've done this in the past when there was such a problem. They procured from Sasol, they procured from SAPI, procured from a gas-to-power project in Mozambique, and all of that. So they could still do that, but as I say, it's not a lot, but it may allow them the space to deal with emergency generation. As you know, the costs of diesel are getting out of hand, and replenishing the hydro power capacity is also an issue for peaking power. So yeah, those are the things that they will plan a little bit better, maybe reduce it a little bit.
And I was going to ask, because as you say, Eskom has found itself in this position where they've had to do this in the past. Right now, looking ahead as to what really is needed, just how much of a reprieve do these three options that they're putting down? I mean, they're talking about 3-year contracts. They're talking about, buying, through emergency means, especially when we do need it, and also procuring from our neighbors as well. How much of a reprieve, should this be done speedily, can it give us?
It's very difficult to say, because it depends on the outages that they have. Right now, they have 15,000 of megawatts of capacity that is off. Depends how long they bring that back, and how quickly, yes, they bring that back. That will help also to stabilize the system. So it's very difficult to say. Suffice to say that at least they will avoid a complete blackout by making sure that the emergency interventions can come in when needed. That is the peaking power capacity. But this is a long-term thing, unless there is new capacity that comes in, and that is going to take lead times.
We're hearing, issues around bid window 5. It may need to be reopened. The minister's arguing that if you adjust the conditions, you may need to then reopen the process. Some say that this sets us back. What are your thoughts?
Bid window 5, that has a lot of problems. Maybe we should be looking at bid window 6. But then again, we should remember that even that capacity will not give us a fully what is supposed to be, because the renewable energy capacity, as you know, has got intermittency in it. So we will not get the full 100% of whatever is being procured. More so around 30%, and again, depends on sometimes we may not get anything from, especially from solar PV.
I suppose then, listening to all that you're saying, it's basically you're saying a bit more patience, because whatever plans that are being put in place are not going to translate into action on the ground as speedily as most South Africans would like for it to be. I don't know, though, how much of patience is there right now, and how much of a wait, ideally, should this be now?
Yeah, ideally, South Africans, maybe they were not aware, South Africans should have reacted a little bit earlier than this, because infrastructure in its nature is a long-term game. So we kind of reacting late as well as South Africans. What we can do, however, as consumers, as other people, we can use demand-side management interventions by reducing our own consumption to try and help Eskom to deal with the issues that they need to deal with. But they are completely overwhelmed, and we are facing a challenge.
And Jose, the president presenting that plan that he said was going to assist the country with resolving this energy crisis. Of course, there was a look at, throw the rule book out, of course, not completely, but to try and procure as much of energy that we need onto the grid as possible. But now, you're listening to the Democratic Alliance, for example, saying they now need to make a call, and a louder call, for the disbandment of the National Energy Crisis Committee, and say that this process should rather be led by an outside industry expert. How much of this would be good for this process in order for it to move, given the fact that we are still seeing some of the issues, around legislation and procurement?
The committee does enjoy industry experts' input in it. They have been, some of the experts have been there for a very long time. So I'm not sure if throwing them out will really resolve the problem. But I think the biggest problem is that we need to realize and recognize and accept that the timelines to all these solutions are not going to be today. And the president perhaps should have been clearer on that when announcing the plan. For instance, if you are building a wind power project and you are bidding with the Renewable Energy IPP procurement program, that takes a process of first developing the infrastructure, putting it in, going to look for finance, negotiating the terms, getting to financial close, then starting construction, post-construction, only when the plant can be finished, reach commercial operation date, and then start operating, that we can benefit from those. So we should have, as South Africa, started all these interventions much earlier, as we had this problem quite a long time ago.
And it seems patience is something that's in short supply with some South Africans right now, Jose. But of course, you do, make some valid points, as you say, that there needs to be time here. But just how much leeway can South Africans continue to really give Eskom here is one to watch. But thank you so much for your insights this afternoon. That was Ruse Moleshe, Infrastructure Finance Specialist.